Richard Moore here from EightStepStartup. So welcome to the next startup tip of the day. These are tips that I've learned over the years with my 4 startups that I'm sharing for entrepreneurs and startup business owners. And this one is about productivity and time management. So today's tip is about self-urgency. Now, urgency is something that comes about when you really desperately need to get something done. And often that's something that's imposed upon us. So it's a deadline for a client, or, you know, there's the expiration of something that, so you need to get something completed between by now and the end of a particular time frame. However, creating natural urgency for yourself is a really valuable tool to get things done. So imposition of your own deadlines created out of thin air is a really strong way of ensuring that you get more done throughout your day. And often people will say to me, those are very close to me, they say, you know, why are you getting really not stressed, but why are you pushing yourself so much to get something done for a particular deadline where everyone knows if you don't get it done, it's not going to matter because you've set that deadline for yourself? Well, the whole point is, if you create these deadlines for yourself, you get used to meeting them, and it means you get so much more done. And this is something that Elon Musk has actually demonstrated with great effect in the past. And he would often, if you read Ashley Vance's biography of him, he would often decide that something needed to be done in a certain amount of time, and he would calculate it. It was fairly intelligently done, but he would calculate it based on how long it would simply take to do it. But he apparently it was seen that he would arguably not factor in things such as, you know, getting a bit of sleep and you know, time out for a cup of tea or something like that. It was just, this can be done if we go at it. And I like that approach because you get so much more done. So often what I would do first thing in the morning, maybe you get up at say 5:45 or something like that, you say, right, here's my schedule of events between now and 8 o'clock. How many things can I ram in? And these are deadlines. And you set yourself maybe, you know, by 6:25 this has to be done, by 6:35 this must be done. Do a post on Twitter by 6:40 then, and sticking to that. Pinging off the schedule is one thing. A to-do list is never really effective unless you put in these deadlines to create natural urgency. And nothing beats looking up from the page, so to speak, and it's 9 o'clock. When most people are thinking about starting the day, and you look behind you and you think, look how much I've achieved because of this massive amount of urgency. But it goes on a macro scale as well. So for instance, launching one of my products once, I simply said to myself, what actually needs to get done? What kind of time frame could that be done in? Now, could I do it in, say, half that time frame? And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, I reckon I could if I really blitzed it. And so I said, right, well, that's the deadline then. Go make it happen by then. And what happens is, if you keep telling yourself about this deadline, it was like 2.5, 3 weeks out from there. I remember saying to myself, that deadline's coming, work on it. And it actually meant that it felt like a real deadline. And what happens is, when you invest in something like that, you ultimately get to a point where you don't want to let yourself down. You know, and you're 4 days out and you say, look, that deadline stands and I've been working so hard to meet it, make sure it happens. And, you know, no one will get this. They'll be looking at you saying, well, you know, chill out a bit. It doesn't matter if you leak over by a week, but you don't want to let yourself down. And it creates wonderful natural urgency about you. So try it out, impose some deadlines on yourself. And there's this thing called a hard deadline, and there's a thing called a soft deadline. If you're unaware of this, basically a hard deadline is when it absolutely must be done by, and a soft deadline is an earlier deadline where it'd be nice to have it done by. You can work with that, but you know, at times I feel that's a bit weak. Sometimes I just like to have a deadline and get it done, and don't give myself any kind of room for movement. And it's that kind of aggressive approach with myself is a way in which I can you know, smash through a day. And often you'll look at yourself and you'll say, do you know what, I'm doing the work of 3 people here just because your intensity is up. This gets you in a wonderful state of flow, and you're bashing out tasks, getting your first part of the day, getting that whole, you know, that kind of maintenance routine and administrative part out the way, so you can focus on the big stuff later on as well. But it gets things done. Try it out. It's made a massive difference with my startup. Speak to you tomorrow for more startup tips.